Hey there, Erin from Morehouse Farm here. I've just finished up the crown of my Katie's cap, so here we are ready to darn in the ends. First, I need to make sure I weave the yarn through all of the remaining stitches, which means here on my version, which I've done on Magic Loop, I need to get all the stitches on the two remaining needles so that I can thread the remaining yarn on the darning needle, and then I'm simply going to bring it through each of the individual stitches, which if I did this right, it alternates color, white color, white color. And again, these are made with Morehouse minis, so our little skeins of the white, natural soft white, and Beaujolais is this color combination. And I love the way it fades into this crown. That's just really neat. Okay, so here comes the other half of it. I'm just gonna slide down onto the shaft on the other side so I have an end where they can come off, and make sure my darning needle goes through each and every one of those stitches and pull it tight. When I give it a good cinch, now we can take a look at how did that star point come together. And it looks like I did a pretty good job because the colors come into diamond points here, and then there comes the white separating them, so yay! Okay, now we got to get this to the inside, so you decide how you want to do it. You could either go right back through the middle, but you got to see what that looks like if you're being picky, because see how that adds the red right through there? That sort of destroyed my hard work on those stars. So what I might do differently is either make the white yarn on top, so pull the red through a little bit tighter, then make sure the white comes down, just so that I maintain that division that I had right there. That's one option. Or you could poke it through in the color section wherever it's going to be hidden, but I really like the way that came out, so I'm going to roll with it. And then I'm going to turn it inside out. First thing I want to do is I want to make sure I get a knot, just so that it doesn't go anywhere, and I'm going to do that by grabbing one stitch here, and if this happens where you lose your yarn off the needle, it's okay. At this point I could rethread it, or I could just pull it through here and cinch it up. Okay, so we're just tying off in a knot. Make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. And then you have the option of if you want to weave these in singly or if you want to do them doubly. And I think it's a little easier to hide them if you do them singly, but it is the inside of your hat. So who's ever going to look at it? And if someone's paying that much attention to the inside of your hat, you need to teach them to knit, I think, so they can have their own go at this. So what I'm trying to do here is just anchor this, and I'm going to look to follow whatever stitches I have in here so that I can do what's called mirror this stitch. See how I would come in underneath here? That follows that white section right there, come back down through, and this is a little bit trickier at the crown of a hat in two colors because there aren't a whole lot of stitches. So I may just want to start with a little bit of direction to get it down farther away from the crown so that I can then follow, or at least mimic, the rounds here that are happening. Now, if I was doing this strictly along the hem of a project, I would be trying to follow as much as I can the design of the stitch, almost like what's called a duplicate stitch. But you can see things are a little bit trickier here when you've got two colors and we're working on the decreases in the crown. But I don't need to go that far. I just need to get this to the point where I can anchor it so that I can snip it off. And if I have scissors close by, that's great. Otherwise, I can just pull it tight and then break it. And now when I ease things back in, the end should disappear. It looks like I left that a little bit long. So I can either come back and snip it, or I can weave it in with a crochet hook, or I could get my needle back in here. And again, I want to make sure that it's going to be hidden on the underside. I can thread it through, and then I can add my yarn. This is a handy trick for when your end is really, really short. Put the needle where you want it to go, and then bring the yarn through. and then you don't have to worry so much about it. There are also some fancy needles that will have this slit all the way down the body of the needle. You might try those if you really find yourself with ends that are too short all of the time. But we kind of do the knitting MacGyver thing where we try to figure out whatever we have at home and how we will make that work. So again, I'm just going to pull this down a little bit farther away from the crown so that I have more room to work. And I'm hiding it underneath here. Look, there's a chance to weave that other white end in a little bit further so I don't see it. And here I go. I can just follow around. And that's the beauty of Fair Isle. There's so many different places to anchor things that it's really wherever it's comfortable for me, that I'm confident that it's not going to go anywhere. And it doesn't have to go far because, again, this is the inside of a hat and it's not really going to face a lot of friction. And if it did, that actually wouldn't be a bad thing because that would help the fibers start to felt together a little bit, which would help them stay in place even more. So, whoops, maybe that's a good time to stop. I just pulled the yarn out of the needle unintentionally. So here I pull it tight, break it off, and then stretch it back out. And there we go. So, hard to see where they were darned in. You can tell a little bit if you look really closely. Boy, that star looks neat from the inside. So let's take a look from the outside. Ta-da! One Katie's cap in Morehouse Merino 2-ply Sports. Happy knitting from Morehouse Farm.